Oh man, I am slowly learning how to do all this. So let's get rid of this timer. I'll figure out a timer for next time. So I am in the office in the house here because my wife is at a consignment sale and I just can't leave the house with the kids all alone, right? So my studio is in the detached garage of on our property, and so yeah, while the kids are sleeping, I'm going to be doing some babysitting and talking to you guys. So tonight we're going to be talking about different modelers out on the market, and really not the sound. Why did it just change? Why did it just change? I didn't want it to change. Bam, there we go. Alright, so I own currently the Headrush, a Helix, a Kemper, a Quad Cortex, and a Fractal AX8, which is an older unit. Most people desire the new FM series, which is the FM3, FM9, and all that stuff. So what we're going to do, I want y'all to come on in. Let's say hi to a few people here in the comments. So we got Jess saying thanks for all that I do for you guys. Well, I appreciate that, and I'm just here to help, really. So Elizabeth is in the house, and she's saying it's Taco Tuesday. So we probably need to start off with asking, what did y'all have for dinner tonight? We had some kind of burrito bowl type stuff. I should have took a picture of it and showed you on the screen, but I just didn't. I didn't think to take a picture. So, and we have Kevin in the house. So, what is up, guys? We have 6 people watching so far, and I hope this is going to be a weekly theme. Talk about gear every Tuesday. We're going to eat some tacos or some kind of Mexican dish, and or at least off camera. And then we're going to come online, have a little Q&A, talk about a certain topic, and just have some fun. I am using my laptop tonight, which is an older 2015-ish MacBook Pro, and the fan just likes to go and go and go. So let me know. Let me know how all that sounds. And I do have a built-in microphone going on here, and I'm not quite sure how it sounds. So Elizabeth says she has pizza. I mean, that is a totally viable option if that's what you want to do. I'm going to go into my sound preferences, and let's turn down the output. Check, 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 check. Play effects. Yeah, let's just adjust my settings here. So I'm not so hot. Use ambient noise reduction. So maybe the fan isn't too bad. Alright, so yeah, like I said, tonight we had burrito bowls, which is basically a layer of rice with beans, usually black beans. And then my wife likes to cook sweet potatoes and chop them up, and then have little bits of chicken, and you put cheese all over it and let it bake in the oven for, I don't know, 15-20 minutes. And it's pretty good stuff. So I enjoy it. We do have Mexican Wednesdays where I work at Harrison Consoles. We go over to the just down literally like 1 minute down the street to Camino Real, and we have we go out to eat every Wednesday for lunch at the Mexican restaurant. So I can't really get enough of Mexican food. It's pretty good stuff. and I thoroughly enjoy it. So I have a web browser here in front of me, but I have everything else over here to the side. So I might have to go over here and do some stuff. Aaron Short's in the house. He says, "What's up, Doc? I'm hunting wabbits." Hunting wabbits. And Greg Barth from Sonic DNA says, "Good evening." And I'm making Elizabeth and Kevin very hungry right now, talking about the burrito ball. So, I will probably think of other themes to do, like kind of like a break the ice kind of, first 5 to 10 minutes of the stream. Just kind of do some little bits here and there. But I'm not prepared to do any of that kind of stuff. So I'm literally in my wife's office with a baby to my right and a little girl to my left. Hopefully they're sleeping. And so yeah, I tried to get a countdown timer going, but that did not function as well as I thought it was going to. I just don't know how to do things yet. I am using Ecamm Live for this, and we'll be using it moving forward. I think they have a promo deal for Black Friday. You can get the pro version for a good discount or something. So I'll probably wait to get that so I can save a little bit of money. But I like Ecamm Live so far. You can do some cool stuff with the comments. You can request people to come in and do like interviews. So you can do like over the internet interview type videos. I can even use Ecamm Live to record pre-made videos, whether that's sharing a screen or capturing multiple cameras. So it's all going to be pretty cool stuff. Alright, I'm going to move some of this other stuff out of the screen here. That's one thing I don't like about Ecamm Live. You have all these extra screens all over the place. And I wish they were all just kind of connected together. But maybe there's a way to do that. I'm not really sure. Let's see. Alright, here we go. So what we have here in front of us, if I could click on, we go to the headshot here. Yeah, this will work. Alright, so what we have here is the Headrush pedal board, and I have been using this unit since probably late 2017, early 2018. So about 4 years, a little over 4 years. And if you check out my YouTube channel, which is what you're watching right now, I think I've counted well over 100 Headrush videos alone. And that's going over the ins and outs, really just a video manual of what the unit does and sounds like, and all the cool things you can do. And so what I want to do with this website here, Aaron and I do have a second display over here to my left. So that's why that's where I have all the Ecamm stuff. But I'm using the web browser on the main display on the laptop. So what we see here on the top is we have a master volume, and something is blocking the view. Oh, okay. Weird. Look at that. Okay, so we got master volume, phones, auxiliary input, volume level. Yeah, let's do it that way. That works for me. And we have the push to enter rotary knob that you can use for multiple different things. And what's cool about the Headrush family of brands is whether you have the pedal board, the gig board, or the MX5, they all have the exact same DSP capabilities. So whatever rig you build on the pedal board, for instance, you can transfer it over to the smaller brother, which is the MX5, and you're not limited at all on the DSP and fearing that maybe a certain delay or reverb sound will get cut off or disabled because you just run out of juice. That's just not going to happen on the Headrush units. This does have a quad core processor. So it has a lot of juice under the hood, and it can do a lot of stuff. One of the main marketing points that they came out with right from the get-go was the ability to have spillover between rigs. And for a lot of modeling units, that's just not possible, because when you go between a preset, which is what the Helix and like Fractal, they call those presets. Headrush calls them rigs, as well as Kemper calls them rigs. And so the early marketing for Headrush was, hey, you can build a crazy rig going from a clean amp with a little bit of reverb, and then swap that over to the next rig, which has tons of reverb, tons of delay, totally different amp, totally different cab, totally different number of effects, and they're all going to seamlessly go from one to the next. And that's called gapless switching. So when I saw Pete Thorne play his video, or his initial demo review of the Headrush pedal board on his channel, I was kind of coming out of the realm of having actual pedal boards with pedals and power supplies and cables and all the different stuff. And I wasn't playing in a band anymore. I was just kind of done with buying all these pedals and then try to incorporate them into some kind of switcher that allowed me to create presets and just with one stomp of a switch go from this sound to that sound to the next sound and so on. And I actually bought a Line 6 HX Effects before I got my first Headrush, because that little HX Effects box gives you every single effect that Line 6 ever made. And it was like $450, $500 at the time. So it was not very expensive, way cheaper than buying individual pedals. And so if you're kind of in that realm right now of you have a lot of pedals on a pedal board and you might want to downsize, the Line 6 HX Effects is definitely a good option for that. But like I said, when I saw Pete Thorne's video on the Headrush, and I like the touchscreen aspect of it, it was just a really nice unit overall, and very easy to use. I mean, if you can use an iPad or use a phone of any kind, then the Headrush is definitely. I mean, my kids don't know anything about signal flow, but they know enough to where they can touch a finger on a screen and they can move blocks around and add in different elements and whatnot. So let's go ahead and look at the back of the unit. We pretty much have a very simple layout. Some of these new units coming out, like the Kemper Quad Cortex Fractal, they kind of up the game a little bit, not only in price but also in features. So with the Headrush, I mean, you can get this thing for about $1,000 brand new, probably $700 or so on the used market if you can find somebody nowadays selling it for used. So the feature set is not tons of flexibility, but you can do a whole lot with what you have. So we do have a main guitar input right over here, and we have expression 2. So if you want to add in a secondary expression pedal, you can do that. We do have an auxiliary input. If I want to take the signal from a phone and play like backing tracks, that aux in input is being controlled by this aux knob right here. Okay. So any kind of backing track or just any kind of audio you want to pipe into the signal flow, of the headrest, you can do that there. You do have a XLR left and right output, and we have a 1/4 inch TRS left and right output as well. And we can discuss how you can use this here in a minute. Okay, we do have an amp and line switch, phones, which is what I like about the headrush in most units. Actually, the Fractal AX8 does not have a headphones output. I was just blown away that something of that caliber just didn't have a headphones output. So it's just kind of confusing. We're going to look at we do have a stereo send and return. So what that means is you can send out a stereo signal, maybe to a stereo processor like a reverb or a delay, and then you can return that back in stereo. So that way if you're going left and right XLR or 1/4 inch out to front of house, not only will the headrush be in stereo, but also your effect that you bring into the signal path will also be stereo as well. And we have MIDI in and out, which allows you to either control external units, or you can have external units control the headrush. And up until this point, the headrush only sends out PC messages. It cannot send CC messages, which is continuous control. It can receive CC messages, but it just can't send them out. So it is a little bit limiting, and that might come in a future update. We just don't know. That's not really a big deal. And then we have a USB port, which is great for backing up your rigs. You can download My Artist Pack from the Headrush website, and that's totally for free. So you can download that. There's Tracy Guns and all the other artists that are on the Headrush website that have artist packs available. So I encourage you to go download all of them, because it's great to see how other people build their rigs, and you kind of find some inspiration within that. Then we have a power button and an IAC, really sturdy hard power cable there. Okay. Here's the side of the unit, and it's not very heavy at all. I can't remember how heavy it is. I passed over it somehow. Anyway, there. I can go under specs. And never mind. I guess you can't. So right now, the headrush is not really in stock in a lot of places, just because I think there's part shortages and other issues going on, not only with headrush, but just the industry worldwide. So they do have a demo unit right now for $9.89, so you can save $109, and you can pay $42 a month for 24-month financing if you have the Sweetwater credit card, which I do, and I utilize that for certain purchases I know I'm going to review for the channel. But I don't really have all the money right away. I can just pay for that over time, and stuff like that. So if you're not into debt, don't worry about it. If you have the cash to pay for it outright, that's perfectly fine. I do encourage you to do that. That's the route you want to take. But I do have Sweetwater affiliate links down below that if you click through my link and then go to purchase whatever you're going to buy, that does help me out on the channel. I get a very small commission from that. Now I can log into my Impact account every month, and I can see who purchased what and whatnot. So in lieu of super chats and all the little live stuff that people would normally do to help donate to the channel, really just use the links in the description. There's a Sonic DNA Doctor McFarland IR pack, which are impulse responses, and anytime you buy something through Amazon or Sweetwater, make sure you go to one of my videos, click on a link, and that will send you onto your Amazon or Sweetwater destination, and then whatever you purchase after clicking on my link, I'll get that commission. So I do appreciate all the support. And that's just an easy way to do something that you were going to spend money on anyway, right? Let's go ahead and check on the comments a little bit. And I'm still getting used to all this. So Elizabeth said her all-time favorite food is Chinese food, which I do like Chinese as well. It's pretty fun. It is some good stuff. Let me go back to the default setting here. There we are. So me and Aaron Short, we have become compadres of the modeling and just YouTube world here over the last few years. We kind of do similar things. He's a great musician, actually lives in New York, and does regular gigging, play gigs at cafes and live events like weddings and stuff like that. So he's really into the gear that helps him perform the best. And he's saying the Kemper is the best, which is, I think, is good. I mean, it's definitely best for him. It's a great unit overall. So he is saying Headrush needs a desktop editor. There is a huge request. I have been playing the Helix all day today. I have HX Edit on my computer screen. So the unit is actually on the floor next to my feet, and then I can use the mouse on the on my desktop to build rigs, alter rigs, however I want. And actually, Helix calls them presets. So anytime you build anything with like an amp, cab, effects, Helix calls that a preset. Okay. And let me go ahead and call up the next unit, which is a Helix. I've got to use this keyboard here. Helix Floor. Now, I recently sold my HX Stomp because I felt like I like the Stomp. It's really good. It has all the amps and cabs and effects you would, just like the Big Brother or just like the Floor. But I can't have just tons and tons of stuff everywhere. And I really wanted to get the full-size Helix because it does have, all the switches, the same kind of switches that Headrush has. It has expression pedal built in. And there's just some extra features that I liked about the Helix that, it was worth it to me to sell the Stomp to get the full-on, just get the full whammy, okay? Let's check a few more comments here. Kevin says, that's what the touchscreen UI was made for. Well, that is very true, but a lot of people, Kevin, they just don't want to bend over either on stage or in their practice area or their living room. They want to sit upright with their guitar and just like, do something on a computer or something like that. But that's really why I have the gig board on my studio desk, because it does have that touch screen right there. And I really only use the Headrush pedal board for when I play at church, because it has way more switches. It has the built-in expression pedal, and I just don't have to worry about having to bend over tons and tons to make rigs, because I pretty much already made everything with the gig board at the house, and then I can transfer those rigs over to the pedal board and then go off and play whatever show or worship service that I'm going to. Yeah, I mean, everything is going with the iPad editor these days, which is fine. But I'm really a big believer in, you really need to prepare yourself for the gig, and don't show up to the gig thinking, oh, I all of a sudden need a Princeton reverb sound with this and that and whatever else. Because like you didn't know you wanted that in the first place. So it does take a little bit of preparation to create the rigs or presets that you need for the gig. So that way when you do show up to the gig, you're not changing things around last minute. Because that is very tempting to do that, especially when you have all the amps and effects at your beck and call. And it's just important to pick a few different amps, a few different pedals that are your core sound, whether you're a country player or a rock player, metal, blues, jazz, whatever it is. Having 50 presets of something just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Maybe if you're a cover band and you just want to go from rig to rig to rig, which is representing each song in your set list, that's perfectly fine. But I really think that most of your songs just need a good clean, a good rhythm, a good lead sound, maybe a fourth or fifth rig that has some weird wacky sounds in it, and that's really all you need for the whole night. That's all I would use anyway. So anything else, I think you're just trying to make it too hard on yourself. So yes, Kemper is amazing. It's pretty cool. So Greg Barth and from Sonic DNA, we are both Headrush users, and we both make rigs and downloadable presets and stuff for the Headrush. Well, Headrush was supposed to be doing something really cool earlier this year. I can't really say a whole lot because I just don't know a whole lot about it. But from what I heard, they're supposed to be doing something really cool, and it hasn't come out yet. So I know 2020 really put a rut in a lot of companies, especially their plans for new tech, new stuff. And some companies like Helix, or Line 6, they're owned by Yamaha. They have tons and tons of money behind them, which gives them plenty of time to do whatever they want. But smaller companies like In Brand Music or In Music Brand, whatever it is, I think it's In Music Brand. I mean, they own Alto and Alesis and M Audio, different stuff like that. But they're not really a huge company, unless I just know. Unless they know something I don't. So the more money you have, the more time and R&D resources you have to actually come out with cool products and not take 12 months to come out with a simple update. I'm pretty sure this Headrush beta has been out for a while now. We've been testing for a while, and I don't know why they haven't released it yet. Yeah, the Dock IR pack is pretty cool. Yeah, so Aaron is making a statement that the Headrush is currently not available on a lot of websites, and that's just due to chip shortages and whatever else. Maybe they are coming out with the Headrush 2.0, and we just don't know it yet. Yeah, the Headrush definitely needs to advance a little bit. Yeah, so the Helix, let's go ahead and move on to the Helix now. Command 2 is my next scene. Let's get rid of that one. Okay. So the Helix just came out with a 3.50 update, or just 3.5 update, and it has a lot of cool stuff. And when we get to the Quad Cortex, we'll kind of talk about both of these units kind of in one breath, because they kind of do similar things. Let's just talk about what the Helix is. And instead of a touchscreen, let me click on this. So instead of a touch screen, we do have a pretty good sized screen. But we have a lot of knobs across the bottom and a big jog wheel that you can maneuver around the screen with. It's actually pretty easy to use. You don't really need the manual at all. Just kind of sit with it for about 30 minutes to an hour, figure out where to push different buttons, and I think it's just as easy to use as the Headrush, really, even though the Headrush has a touchscreen and the Helix doesn't. I mean, I've been using my HX Effects for, good 5 years now. It's just, once you just know once you've learned how to use it, it's pretty easy to understand and get around everything that you need to. We do have a bank up and down, which these two switches can be changed to either bank, snapshots, or presets, which is cool. And here's all your presets available there. You do have a mode switch, which allows you to either view snapshots and or pretty much toggle between stomp mode and either preset mode or snapshot mode, depending on which preset you've chosen or what you've chosen in the global settings. You do have a tap tempo, and you hold it down to access the tuner, because the tuner is actually really good. You have a nice strobe tuner in there. You have like a little bubble tuner and just a generic tuner that just kind of goes back and forth. So, but really the back of the unit is why I got the Helix. So I recently saw that, I can't remember his name, he's the guitar player for Rival Sons, and he is touring right now with Rival Sons with a Helix. And I thought that was really cool. And that really said a lot for him to do that, because he's usually playing full stack orange amps and a big pedal board full of pedals like fuzzes and overdrives, distortions, delays, reverb, stuff like that. So for him to move over to the Helix, I thought was a really bold move. And he pointed out something that I didn't even realize the Helix had. Otherwise, I probably would have bought one a long time ago. But this right here, it has 4 sends and returns, which is really, really neat. So what you can do with that is, and how the Rival Sons guitar player uses it, is he actually plugs in 4 different stomp boxes, overdrives, whatever that is, and then he puts in 4 effects loops in the signal path. And so that way he can access, external gear, whether that's pedals, rack gear, whatever that is. So what I'm going to do with the Helix is I'm actually going to use it as a hub for my Headrush, the Kemper, the Quad Cortex, and the Fractal. And so I can essentially have in slot 1 the Headrush, Fractal on 2, Quad Cortex on 3, the Kemper on 4, and then have a separate amp block, provided by the Helix. And what I can do is I can call up snapshots. I can create different snapshots, and I can bring in and out these different units in the signal path, and then really easily compare, how does a Princeton reverb on the Headrush sound against a Princeton reverb on a Quad Cortex or a Kemper or anything like that. So it's really going to be a good source of good technology. I can utilize all these different signal paths coming in and out. And it's going to be great. So we actually have 2 expression pedal options and an external amp, which means you can change channels on an amplifier. So whether you're using a PV 5150 or an orange rock reverb or any amp that has some kind of switching on it, even a PV Bandit, you could switch channels on a PV Bandit pretty easy. And probably use the 4 cable method to get some effects before the preamp or before the amp, and then some effects after the amp or the power amp, and do all your channel switching that way. So it's really cool. I'm not sure what the CV is, but maybe I'm not sure. There is a guitar in and an aux in, so very similar to the headrest. You've got that auxiliary input. And we also have a microphone input. So this could be great for some studio guys that want to use the Helix as your interface and just plug in one microphone, plug in a guitar. You can actually have two separate paths called up on the screen with, whatever effects you want in there, whatever effect blocks you want in there. And it's pretty powerful stuff. It does have XLR out and 1/4-inch outputs. It does have a phones. And if you have a Variax guitar, you can actually plug in your guitar into this option here. And when you make your presets, preset 1 could be a clean Princeton amp with a Strat kind of sound. And then preset 2 could be a Mezza Boogie dual rack with a humbucker kind of sound. And when you change it on the unit, it changes the sound within the guitar as well. And a long time ago, they came out with this dream rig kind of concept where you got the Helix, you got the Variax guitar, and you got like a DT25, DT50 amplifier. It was actually a tube amp. It has a 12AX7 in the pre, and then two EL34s in the power tubes. And it's pretty cool stuff. They got MIDI in and out, SPDIF, and also a Line 6 link out. And that's what I think you can control the DT25 amps with that. Then you got USB and the IEC power cable with a nice on-off switch. So that is the Helix. And I'm kind of doing a basic overview of all these units tonight. And then on my Friday videos, which I am going to start making Friday videos, I'm going to really take each unit individually and really dive deep into the features and the sounds and show you exactly how they work and all that fun stuff. So definitely, if you're not subscribed to the channel, be sure to do that down below and click the bell so you'll be notified when I release those videos. And it's going to be some fun stuff. Check the comments here. 13X band. It's Miles. It says, "Hey Doc, I'm loving my Quad Cortex." Well, you should, because it's definitely a great unit. It is a great unit for sure. We got 8 people watching, so that's great. So just come on in, guys. Greg Barr says, "What up, Miles?" Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, maybe Headrush is just coming out some more stuff, which I'm fine with. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about, Aaron. Who you're talking about? For amp channel switching. Oh, the Rival Sons guy. No, he's going direct to front of house. He has some amps behind him just for like stage volume, but he's definitely going direct. Just kind of come through the comments here. This is something that I kind of saw and heard today as well, Greg and Aaron. Let's take the Litigator for instance. All those amps at the end of the list are like the Line 6 original amps. They do kind of all. They're in the same kind of vein, right? They're the high gain, really chuggy kind of stuff, and so really, the Litigator is a good amp. I like the Bogner Uberschall stuff, which is really good. But at a certain point, you're really, you're not gaining a lot of tonal variety from the Helix. So far, out of my short time of owning it, and even using the HX Stomp, I really like the Archetype, which is the PRS Archon amplifier. I think the clean and the dirty channel of that amp is just really sick, and it sounds really good. And I'm a big Mesa Boogie Dual Rec fan, so I like having the California cleans, but also like the really filthy overdrive or distortion channels. And the Friedman amp is great. The Placator is really good. But at a certain point, they do kind of all sound very, 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 very similar. So if you kind of bought the Helix, this is what I'm going to propose for future videos as well. Is I'm going to do some short ideas of like, maybe like a desert island kind of scenario. Like if you can only pick one amp, and let's say maybe 3 or 4 effects and a cab, which one would you choose? That's probably a good way to go about it. Because you can get into option paralysis with all this stuff, and it's very easy to get lost in the weeds, and always tweaking but never really playing. So I think it's good to just kind of pick a handful of amps, some nice sounding effects. And what's cool about the Helix is you can actually save these amps and effects to your favorites. So when you go to make a new preset, you have all your core sounds just right there. You don't have to just, okay, today I'm going to choose the Who-Watt because I haven't tried that in a preset yet. And even though you really like the Princeton Reverb, or you really like the Twin, or maybe the Grammatico, or some of the other clean offerings. So that is a good point. Yeah. So Helix is good for everything apart from amps. They do have good effects, which is why I'm keeping the HX effects, because for $400 used, you can't really go wrong with all the stomps or with all the dirt and delays or reverbs and stuff you get. So yes, you just get a Kemper. So Greg is saying use the headrush in the loop of the Helix, so you can use the headrush amps, but the Helix effects. That's an idea. If you don't get to that idea first, then I'll definitely do that. I mean, I've been doing stuff like that for years anyway. If you go back on my channel, kind of look at some headrush and Helix videos I have, you can see how I combine both units and make some cool stuff. And Greg does have a Kemper anyway, so Cartographer. Yeah, that one's a Ben Adrian custom amp he made for the Helix. So, all right, let's go and let's check out the next one. Shoot, I forgot. Now, Sweetwater is not going to have an AX8 because they are definitely discontinued. They have moved on to the FM series. Let's just go with the FM9 for now. I don't have an FM9, but we can still go over it. Oh, and you can't go over, you can't do fractal stuff because they just sell direct. They sell direct. Alright, so let's move this over like so. Alright, so Axe Effects is known of, like, they're, I'm not going to say they're the big daddy of all the modelers, but based on price and probably features, I mean, there's a lot of people, if you go on Facebook forums, they would say that, Fractal is just the best. You can't get any better than that. And why would you use anything else kind of thing. But really, after my experience of the Fractal AX8, I mean, yeah, the sounds are great, but dialing in the presets and the scenes and all that different stuff, it's very, very hard to do on the actual unit itself. And you kind of have to rely on the editor to make all your sounds. And I don't want to rely on any computer to edit my sounds. I want to be able to just reach over, either twist a knob or touch a screen, and find the sound that I want really quickly, and then save it, and then I'm off to playing. And I think there's some people that take their computer to their gig just if they need to change something last minute. They have to hook up to their computer, log into the editor, edit whatever they need to, and then store everything, and then hopefully they're ready to play by by the time the gig starts. I just don't want to work that way at all. And the way, I mean, XFX is having similar issues right now with the shortages of chips and parts. The waiting list is very, very long for FM9. And even people that try to sell them used or secondhand, they're definitely gouging the prices way too much. Which it is supply and demand. So if you don't mind paying the higher price, that's fine. But me personally, I would not do that. If I bought an FM9 for $1,800 and I just didn't like it, I would turn around and try to get at least $1,800 back out of it, if not 16 or something like that. I would just take the hit instead of trying to sell it for $2,500 just because you probably can. There's just I'm not gonna look down on people that do that. I'm just saying I wouldn't do that personally myself. But we can see here on the screen. Let me take this off here. There we go. We got banks and presets, scenes, effects, control, and more. So you really only have 9 foot switches on here, and you only have 3 on the FM3. And I think the FM3 would be fine for like a desktop studio kind of thing. But 3 switches, that's kind of why I sold the HX Stomp. I just don't like having very limited amount of switches. I like having at least 9 to 12 is really a good workaround there. The new Amp X from Blue Guitar, Thomas Blue, it only has 6 switches, and that's kind of hard to get my head wrapped around. Whether you want to bank up and down, tap tempo, have some stomps available, have some presets available. There's just not enough switches to go around. I think he has said in a recent live stream that he will have an additional extender, like a foot switch extender kind of unit. You can always add on if you want more switches. But I just prefer it to all be built into the same unit itself. You do have the FS or the FC12 and FC6 extenders. So if you had an FM3, you can get an FC6 or FC12, and you can get way more foot switches. But if you took the FM3, if you took both of these units and then crammed them together, that'd be a really big, that'd be a lot of stuff at your feet. And with the price, I mean, the FM3 is about $1,200. FC12 is about $800. So you're spending $2,000 for something that's pretty big. And a lot of people want the FM9 Turbo because it has less CPU power, but just more power overall. And the FM3 is a little bit limited as far as CPU. So it's also why I sold the HX Stomp. I just didn't like the limitation of not being able to add in certain blocks when I wanted to. But now that they changed the cabs, you can actually add in more of the higher DSP style units or effects blocks. So maybe it would have been worth keeping the HX Stomp. I'm not sure. So Aaron actually owned a Fractal FM3, and he didn't like the tones. So Turbo Extreme MK3, yep. So there's definitely some other options on the market, like there's Mooer, and there's also Nuex. They have some cheaper. They are at least less expensive, but they have some powerful options out there for sure. I don't have any news, Aaron, about the Amp X. I have emailed Thomas back and forth a little bit, just asking him about the foot switch situation. Just kind of wrap my mind around how all that would work. But I mean, they're working on it. You know, they hope to get them out by December sometime. All right, that's enough for the fractal stuff. You know, AX8 is good, but let's actually go to products real fast. We have to go to Legacy. There's AX8. So this is a very sturdy unit. I mean, it is built to last. It's very robust. I like that it has dedicated amp control knobs on the top. So that makes it pretty easy to dial in your amp tones. But this little screen and the little blocks that you have to like connect one to another, and not having scribble strips and having to rely on the screen all the time to see what you're looking at. It would definitely just be a studio thing. I would create 1 or 2 banks with all the amps that I would want, whether ranging from clean to crunch to lead, and then having some certain maybe have a delay, a reverb, tube screamer, all the normal stuff you would want in a rig. Maybe a phaser, a flange, a chorus, tremolo, stuff like that. I would just go ahead and make all my presets, 2 banks of 8, and just be done. There's no way I would tweak and tweak and tweak on this thing, because it's not worth it. It's not worth the headache of trying to do all this stuff. But I do have a Fractal AX8 right now, and I will gladly show you in a few videos what it can do and how to kind of maneuver between the user interface. But I don't think I'm going to keep it. It's going to be one of those sell off and forget about kind of things. Though I do love the ruggedness of it though. It is a nice unit for what it is. Yeah, December. So Thomas was going to try and get it done by December and then ship it out to Germany and Europe first. So that way, if there's any issues, he don't have to recall a bunch of units from America and Canada, South America, stuff like that, Peru. So yeah, Germany first. So we might not see units, us Americans. We might not see units until maybe next summer. I just don't know. Don't take my word on any of that. But it's ready when it's ready. So there you go. All right, let's move on to the Quad Cortex. And as Aaron would say, we're going to save the best for last. The very best for last. So Neuro DSP Quad Cortex 1849. They do have 2-year financing right now, $78 a month, not too bad. I actually got mine through Sweetwater on a demo deal, so I did not pay $18.49. I paid a few $100s less than that, but Still, you know, still a lot of money, and all kinds of cool stuff. So this does have a touchscreen, just like the Headrush. It's a 7-inch touchscreen. It's got a quad-core processor. Capture technology. So that's one thing that's really cool. Is very similar to the Kemper, where Kemper's profile things. The Quad Cortex captures the sound of pedals and amps. It does have 10 switches across the bottom, and then an 11th switch across the top there. So this is how you bank up and down. And let me get rid of this thing right here. So we got a tempo and a tuner. And you can change the mode of what you see on the screen, whether that's presets, scenes, or stomps, by hitting these two switches right here. And apparently you can only buy these at Sweetwater right now. So Neural Capture digitizes your favorite amps, stomps, and cabs. Capture complete rigs or component parts. And it does have 2 XLR microphones. So it's a step up from the Helix in that regard, as it has 2 mic. It's actually combo jacks. And we'll look at the back of it here. Actually, so we got 2 inputs there for microphones or 1/4-inch inputs, and we have 2. We basically have a stereo send and return. You can also use these to have 2 different pedals plugged in. Rhett Scholl did a short video early this year, of like a little fly rig where he incorporated 2 pedals into those loops. And you do have an output 3 and 4. Then you have your capture out and your headphone out, which is really cool. And then you got XLR left and right, your MIDI in and out and through, 2 expression pedals, a USB, but it has a wall wart. I'm not very excited about the wall wart, and really the Quad Cortex, if I end up keeping it, is just going to be a desktop unit. If I was out touring, I would definitely have to have another solution rather than using a wall wart power supply. Plus, I mean that kind of connection there is just not very sturdy. One wrong kick or shoe rub or something, that power supply is just going to kink. And it could break off inside there. I mean, you just never know. Just never know. It does take 12 volt, 3 amps, which is a lot of juice. So there's only a few power supplies out there I know that can handle that. And we'll probably go over stuff like that in the future. I have a True Tone CS6 that quite possibly could handle powering that unit. We'll have to test that out. Checking the comments here. So going over just the general stuff, I know it's not very exciting. You probably want to hear some tones, but I'm just not in a situation tonight where I can do that, especially with me being in my wife's office. But it is a nice touch screen. You can see that there. And the box and everything that came with it, I mean, it's a very well packaged device. I can definitely say that. It does get very hot. Just sitting on a desk, you know, you kind of, it's very warm to the touch. But there are cooling vents on the side, so maybe that's not a big deal. We can do some cool stuff like this. Whoa! It's a very sharp looking unit. It's a very nice unit. It's a very, very similar size to the Line 6 HX effects and also the headrest gig board, which I have not put them side by side as of yet, but they're pretty much the same size. So the fact that they were able to fit in these foot switches, cram all those into a small area, it's definitely a nice touch. And what's cool about the switches is they're actually, they can turn. So they're not only pushable, but they're potentiometers as well. So whatever effect or amp, let's just call them blocks, whatever block you choose on the screen, you can all the parameters line up to the switches, and now you can just turn those to dial in your different sounds. It's really, really fast and easy to do all that stuff with. Wall warts forever. Blessed Heavy Elements says hi. So thanks for having coming on in and hanging out. I did see the email, Aaron, that 2.0 is in beta, and they said it'll only be like a few weeks for them to test everything and then release that. So money does not grow on trees, and credit cards and Sweetwater cards can only take you so far. But it is kind of nice having multiple units, because it's like Christmas multiple times a year. When one unit comes out with a new update, it's very, very soon that the next unit will come out with another update, because they're always coming out with more stuff. And it just keeps everything fresh and exciting. And, I have a Boss MS3 that has never been updated. They've never released an update for it. You just buy the unit and you get what you get. Now, the MS3 is really good. I mean, it has all the Boss effects you would ever want. Delays, reverbs, tremolos, phase, flange, all the stuff. It has 3 loops on the back. You can incorporate your own whatever pedals you want into the single chain, which is really cool. But those units just are not updatable. They just don't make updates for them. But all these, everything else, they're constantly being updated, and new features are being incorporated and stuff like that. So, all right, let's move on. And that's pretty much the Quad Cortex in a nutshell. It's got a touchscreen, quad core, Shark DSPs. You can capture amps, pedals. It has switches that are very, very robust that can also turn, so you can adjust your parameters on the screen, and audio MIDI over USB. So it actually has an app. It has an app. Let me find my app. So here's the Quad Cortex app. Let's see that there. It's going to come up. Working on it. There you go. You can kind of see that there. So you can download people's presets. You can go into your, I have my Doctor McFarland Studios account, and I can upload my presets, my captures, my impulse responses, and I can share those with anybody else within the ecosystem there. If you have a Quad Cortex account, you can definitely go in and find some cool sounds that you can just play with whenever you want. There's all these people just providing different stuff. So really, really neat. All right, the last one is going to be Kemper. So I have the Kemper app on my phone, which I have not been able to connect. All right, we're just going to look at the Kemper stage. There is the toaster version, and there's also a remote, which is really cool. And I'm not signed into my account right now. Actually, I am signed into my account. Add to list. So I'm going to create a new list here and call this Dr. Kemper Gear. I can change that later. So there's my wish list. So anything having to do with Kemper, I can put in this wish list here and have that available on in the description down below. Like for instance, I really like this bag. This is a nice carry bag. And they're currently not available, but I will add them to my list anyways. Dr. Kemper Gear. Alright. And I do like these gator cases as well. So these are good little bags for the Kemper the toaster heads. Let me go back the screen. Jordan, we are just simply talking about and comparing different maulers. So we've gone through the Headrush, the Helix, the Quad Cortex, the Fractal, FM9, and AX8. And now we're on the last one, which is the Kemper. Okay. Aaron Short is saying that the Kemper is the best. And that his Mesa amp doesn't need firmware updates. That is very true. That is very true. So Jordan, this is a good question here. He's shopping for a few different pieces. I want your opinion on the Fractal FM9 and the Blackstar Amp1. The FM9 I have not personally tried, but I do have the Fractal AX8. And the sounds are incredible, but the user interface is very, very hard to use. Now, there are a lot of video tutorials on YouTube about the FM9. And then there's a guy, his channel is G66. I can't remember his name. But I know he has a lot of... I got to take off my sandals. My feet are sweating. He has a lot of great videos on how to use the FM9. So it really doesn't come down to, is it hard to use? Because really, if you learn anything, it's fairly easy to use, right? It's just a matter of what your user interface you prefer. And the amped one, it is very similar to Thomas Blug's Blue Guitar Amp 1, which is not a good or bad thing. It's just, it is what it is. But I haven't personally used the amped one yet from Blackstar. It does look like basically a power amp with a preamp section built in. You can do a 4-cable method to put your drive pedals in the front and your wet effects after the pedal. Basically get like a 4-cable method kind of setup. And if you want a pedal board with that amped one on there and you want to send it out to front of house, that's definitely a good option to do that. Let's go back one page here to the actual I'm freaking out. Pick the stage. Alright. So I am in Nashville, Tennessee. Actually, it's just south of Nashville in a town called Murfreesboro. But in Nashville, there's a store called British Audio, and they sell Kempers that are preloaded with Tone Junkie or Michael Britt profiles. So that's really the first distinction we need to talk about is the Kemper does not have stock amps and cabs like a Headrush or a Helix or even a Quad Cortex would have. It literally has profiles of amps. So imagine you had your Mesa Boogie dual rec, and you want to run that through a cab, and then put a microphone on the speaker, and now you're going to capture the sound of that amp and cab in your Kemper. That's what a profile, essentially what the profile is doing. So when you first get a Kemper, you're not really getting stock amps and cabs. You're getting profiles that people have already made, whether that's Kemper have already made, or Michael Britt's already made, or tons of other people have made Kemper profiles. And they can be a lot. So you kind of do need the editor to fully maximize the navigation side of the Kemper. Because at first, I mean, it's really not that intuitive at all to me. And I can pick up on things pretty fast, but the Kemper definitely takes some time. You have to watch some videos, make sure you read the manual. And Tone Junkie has a lot of great videos on his channel. Check him out. HW, peace out, all that stuff. But once you understand the ins and outs of how the Kemper works, and you dial everything in, it's really not hard to use at all. It's just a small learning curve to get over that initial hump. So let me pull this off here. Elizabeth is asking about the kids, and they are doing just fine. They should be sleeping right now, but they're doing great. Oh, man. So, Aaron is being facetious and sarcastic. He's not going to sell everything to buy a Fender Twin, because one, Fender Twins weigh like 200 pounds. And you are not going to be going on a subway train car with a Fender Twin. It's just not going to happen, especially living in New York. George says, that's what I've heard. I've been struggling with the live stuff so much with the Headrush pedal board. I'm giving it one last run before I start going shopping. I like the floorboard setup. Send me a message, Jordan, and kind of let me know what kind of tones you're, like what band are you in? What kind of music are you trying to make? And I can help you with the Headrush for sure. I mean, if I was playing in a hard rock band, I'm not going to judge you right here on the screen, but I kind of see you as like a hard rock, maybe just straight up rock kind of band kind of guy. So definitely the Bogner amps are going to be your best friend. The Mesa Boogie stuff and the Soldano amps. Those are going to be your bread and butter right there. You can get all the cleans and crunch and overdrive and distortion lead stuff that you want. Then just kind of sprinkle it with your delays, reverbs, tremolos, phase, flange, chorus, wall pedal, whatever you want. I have tons of rigs that I've made over the years that you can definitely try out and let me know what you think. And I'm not doing any of this because I'm saying that the Headrush is horrible and I just hate it and I don't ever want to use it again. I still think the Headrush is great and is, I can dial in the sounds that I want pretty much on any unit you give me. I don't care if it's a Ampero, if it's a New X thing, if it's a GE300 thing. I know what it takes to get good tone from an amp or a pedal or a modeler, and my ears have been trained over the years to just know what I like, and I can dial in those sounds pretty fast. So it doesn't matter if it's a Headrush or a Kemper or a Helix or a Quad Cortex. They all sound really, really good. And, it kind of just depends on what your ears want to hear. And if the headrush just doesn't do it for you, then don't use the headrush. Use something else. But I think I'm saying the headrush does it for me. I can definitely get the sound I want out of the headrush for sure. And I have no issues with that unit at all. Like I said, I bought it based on Pete Thorne's YouTube video like 5 or 6 years ago. And maybe like 5 years ago. And he made it sound good. So it was like, look, if Pete Thorne can make it sound good, I know I can make it sound good. And I have made it sound good over and over and over and over. So, with all that said, you just have to define what you're looking for and then take the appropriate route to get there the easiest way you can. Okay? We go back here. Jordan, I mean, the headrush amps sound great. They do sound really, really good. But if you're looking for that amp, that lifelike amp sound, if those are the sounds your ears just want to hear, I mean, the Kemper is a great option for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of people in the fractal community that just love fractal. You can get some great sounds out of the box with the FM9 for sure. Yeah, definitely stay tuned to the channel. I'm going to be doing a lot of Kemper videos here coming up very soon. So check that out for sure. Yeah, and I agree with this. The stage is the way to go. I actually had a head, the toaster, and the remote that I bought from someone in the stream, and I really just prefer like an all-in-one unit versus having two separate elements you always have to deal with. Two-day rental. We are 90s 100s cover band. So yeah, if you're 90s and in early 2000s, then you're running the gamut between Hootie and the Blowfish, the Bush, the Pearl Jam. I mean, all kinds of stuff, right? So you need something that's pretty versatile to get around. Jordan, you can go to my website. Let me take you there real fast. We got drmcfarlandstudios.com. I do have headrush courses available that walks you through all kinds of headrush options. But you can click, where is it? There should be a way to message me on here somewhere. I'm not seeing it right this second. But you can always email me at Dr. McFarland Studios, drmcfarland@gmail.com, or through Messenger on Facebook or Instagram or wherever else. So it doesn't really matter. But you should be able to message me through the website. I'm just not seeing. I'm not seeing it right this second for some reason. Okay. Yeah, I'm just not sure. All right, let's talk about the Kemper real fast. So the Kemper is going to have rigs very similar to how the Headrush has rigs. And what that means is one rig consists of a amp, a cab, whatever effects you want in there, and that is one rig. And now you see across the bottom here, we have these switches, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can have 5 rigs, and these rigs are in a performance, okay? So think of a performance kind of very much like a set list on the headrush, where you can create a set list, put 5 headrush rigs in that set list, and now that's all you're going to access. Sorry, that's all you're going to be able to access within that set list. But you can still bank up and down to go between different set lists or go between different performances, i.e. on the Kemper. So within each performance, you can also have whatever effects blocks you have across the top here. You can assign those to a switch. And you can also assign multiple different effects to one switch. So if you want to have your core sound, then turn off or on 5 effects blocks at once with one switch, you can definitely do that. The 2 LEDs here on top of each other over the one rig, you can see it's lit up right here. That is called morph, and that is with the morph button right here. And what that does is you basically have your core tone on the initial hit of that switch. And when you hit the switch again, you can morph between amp settings, delay, reverb settings, wherever you want. Now you can't switch in and out. You can't change from one reverb to the next. That's not possible. But you can change like the mix or the delay feedback or pretty much any parameter you want. You can alternate between those 2 settings on the same switch. So it's really, really good to where you have maybe on one you have a clean sound, then you hit it again, and it brings in a delay that maybe the mix was at 0% before and now it's at 50% or it's at 30% or whatever you want that to be. So you just do that for all 5 switches, and you can call in and out different effects blocks there on the screen. And then you do have a dedicated looper switch, which is great, and you have a dedicated tuner, which is also pretty great. And the tuner is always on, which means you can see these LED lights right here flash either to the left, to the middle, or to the right, depending on if your string is in tune or not. So you can kind of quickly see if you're in tune, and if you're not, you can hit that switch. It has a very nice strobe tuner on it. So it's a great tuner, very, very similar to the strobo stomp type stuff. You have a dedicated tap tempo, which I just said, and you do have a type and browse knob. That's kind of how you're going to navigate between your different amps, your different effects. And you have browser mode, and then you have performance mode, which is something we can go into future live streams or future videos. And you do have a gain, amp section where you can control your bass, middle, treble, and your master volume. So it is pretty straightforward as far as the switches are laid out. You just kind of you have to get your head wrapped around what different things do. Now this right here, I love that they have the labels on the back are actually on the top of the unit. I was trying to plug in things to the Helix today, and everything's labeled on the back. You can't see the names of it on the top. And I think some people put tape on there and they write it on there and stuff. But it's just a very nice touch for Kemper to have the names across the back, and then also have the same names going across the top. So you know exactly where you're plugging in all your cables and stuff, which is really cool. Aaron, headrush is discontinued. Yes, we know. Kemper is the best. Uh, so Greg says I just hooked up the headrush into the Helix using HR amp, the Helix signal splitting and effects. It's crazy. I'm telling you, headrush amps are good. They are really good. Jordan, I know you said you have issues with sound, but uh, uh, it's there. I mean, the sounds are there. The sounds are there. And definitely let me know if you need help dialing those in. George says, I have faith that the headers can do what I want. I think it's more of a matter of me understanding the system a little bit better. Jordan, how long have you had the headrush? Maybe you just need some more time with it. Yeah, Greg is the owner of Sonic DNA, which I have my custom IR pack through. And he has a lot of great packs. So I would definitely take advantage of his offer and get some Sonic DNA packs. Good stuff there. Pete Thorne can make a rock sound good. Well, that is true. That is very true. But it just comes to show that if Pete Thorne, I was inspired by the sounds he was getting. So if he can do it, I know I could do it myself. And I've proven I've done it over and over through the years. Now so Jordan has his headrush for about 2 years now, and he is definitely not dumb. You just gotta know the sound you're going for, and then just dial that in. Okay. Aaron, I have no idea, but it's definitely a nice feature having the labels across the top like that. So if we look at the back of the unit here, we have an input. Then we have a mono. Let's see here. We have a mono send. We have 2 mono sends, but then 2 stereo returns. So that's a cool concept right there. Otherwise, you would just use send, go out of send, and then return 1 and 2, send 2, and then return 3 and 4. You have an XLR output. Stereo, no, you got a main left and right, then you got a monitor left and right, which is really cool. You can adjust, you can define where all this output is going within the unit. It's got SPDIF in and out. You can hook up 4 expression pedals, which is really cool if you like that kind of thing. It's got MIDI in and out. It's got a USB port, which is cool. So like a thumb drive. It's got a USB cable connection, and it's got the IEC power. Now this also has Wi-Fi built in, very similar to the Quad Cortex. So that's how you're able to connect it to an iPad app and all that fun stuff. Right now, the Quad Cortex only uses the Wi-Fi to connect to the phone app, but it's not for actually controlling the device. It's just for sharing rigs and captures and stuff like that. But overall, I mean, Kemper is a very well-built unit. It feels great under the fingers when you're playing. And I'm not going to go out and say that Kemper is the totally best for everybody, but it is a great unit. The Michael Britt profiles that I've been using in the Kemper so far, you know, like I said, as long as you have a clean some kind of rhythm, maybe a clean rhythm, dirty rhythm, some kind of lead tone. You can go pretty far with just those sounds right there, and just kind of pick the amps that get you to that point. So I found a Car V slant or a slant V6, which is a great clean amp. So I've been using that for my clean tones. Found a orange Rockerverb 50, which I've been using for my dirty tones. And then there's some Mezza Boogie stuff and some Marshall stuff in there. Bogner PV 5153. And there's also, what else is there? The Uberschall, the Bogner Uberschall stuff. It's just really sick. Very similar to the Headrush. Between all these rigs, they have spillover between the delay and reverb. So you are kind of limited on the number of blocks. Let me delete this message here. You're limited on the number of blocks you can put in each rig. You can only have 4 slots before the amp and cab, and then 4 slots after the amp and cab. But even though it says mod right here, you can totally have another delay there if you want. You could have 3 delays in the signal on X, mod, and delay, which is really neat. And usually over here you have some kind of compression, compressor, some kind of drive, maybe some phase or flange. In the input section you have a gate. You have a built-in gate, which is really nice. The Headrush also has a gate. Most units have some kind of gate on the input. If you just click on the input block, you'll see all the input options for gating and filtering out noise and input volume, stuff like that. So same goes if you click on the output, you can dial in all those settings right there. So we've been going for a pretty good time here. Well, I definitely want to thank everybody for sticking with me here in the office, and hopefully the fan noise of the computer has not been too distracting. I'll definitely go back and rewatch a little bit of this, and we'll see how bad it actually is. Hopefully it wasn't too bad. And yeah, so the cool thing about Kemper and Quad Cortex is if you already have some amps available to you, whether you own them personally or you have a friend that has some amps, or you're good friends with a music store, you can you can profile or capture any amp you want, which I think is really neat. So Greg is going to profile his Soldano Mini and see how that comes out. Yeah, we're talking about the Kemper here, so you can set the monitor out to have no cab applied. You can also do that on the Headrush as well. It's called alternate output. So XLR outs can be the full rig, but your 1/4 inch outs can be the full rig minus the cab, which is why I always put the cab at the very, very end of my chain. So that way it bypasses the cab. So if I'm going through an actual amp on stage, or if I'm using a power amp and a cab kind of setup, I can send full rig to the front of house, but then have everything up to the cab going to maybe a Boss Katana or just another tube amp on stage, and you can separate the 2 signals that way. I know Helix can do similar things as well. Obviously Quad Cortex can do similar things. So yeah, others don't do that. I mean, actually Headrush does do that. So there you go on that one. Greg is asking if I've tried any of his profiles. I have tried a few of them. But I've really just been messing with the profiles that I've had that came with it. But I did sit down for a short time, Greg, and play through yours, and they sounded really good. So anything that I make, I will share with any other Kemper person out there. So just let me know. So the Headrush FR-FR12, you really got to think about the expectations of that. The FR-FR units from Headrush do sound good in their own right. I currently have a QSC K8 in my possession, just kind of testing it out, and it does sound different than my Headrush FR-FR 108, which is the smaller brother to the FR-FR 12. Some say the Headrush speakers are a little bass heavy, which that kind of depends on what you're comparing it to. But if you're going through front of house and also having a FR-FR on the stage, but you're not using in-ears, I just, I wonder. I just wonder what kind of frequencies you're really listening to, because I'm not sure how that translates to the venue by doing that. Most people nowadays use in-ears, which is how I use the Headrush at church, and it always sounds very nice. And even the other guitar player at church, he uses a 108 in front of him on stage. He doesn't use headphones at all. He just uses his 108 as his monitor. And same thing, the tones are just great. So, yeah, being friends with the music store definitely helps. And Jordan says they're a little bassy on their own, in my opinion. Yes, they are. Hey, Elizabeth, good night. Thanks for coming in and hanging out. And we'll have to swap recipes on Taco Tuesday stuff. So Jordan, if you are using in-ears, I mean, having an FR-FR12 on the stage is fine, but I doubt you're really feeling what that cab is giving you, because everything's going into your ears anyway. So you could probably get away with just a silent stage and be fine. So say bye to Elizabeth, everybody. Have a good night. Our front of house is our Bose F1 stacks, and our own sub of the monitor is for when the inner mix sounds like crap. Yeah, well, you need to be able to dial that in pretty well, show per show. If you're using a Behringer X32, you should be able to store all your in-ear settings, so you don't have to go in and recreate all from scratch every single time. But that's the way it is, folks. So like I said, don't worry about super chats or anything like that. If you want to donate to the channel, I have HTS rigs on the website. You can get all the Headrush rigs I ever create. I have started a Helix Studio presets option on there. You can download all the Helix presets that I'll ever make. And I'm sure I'll do the same thing for Quad Cortex. And I'm not sure how I can do that with Kemper, because they're not really my amps. I don't really feel right to sell packs based on other people's amps. But if I make profiles on my own amp, which I have a Supro Delta King 12, which sounds really nice, and I have a handful of pedals, I can definitely create a Kemper profile pack for you guys. And it's just going to be a one-time fee of $20, and all the profiles that I make from now into the future will be, you don't have to pay anything else. You just get all the new updates for free, just by paying that one $20 upfront fee. So that sounds like a pretty good deal to me. So that's just F12s, ready to go. Yeah, so the Celestion F12Xs, those are essentially, they are essentially FR speakers, but you put them in an actual cab, and they're supposed to give you a better, like an actual guitar cab response versus the sound of an FR speaker. So there's definitely different things you can do with that. And I will definitely profile the Supro for sure. I am in very, very busy mode right now. I have some songs I need to finish up for some clients in the studio, and between work and kids and everything else, it's just it's hard to do everything that I want. But I'm dedicated to doing this live stream at least once a week, because that's something fun I know I can do on a Tuesday night after the kids go to bed. And then if I can prepare a Friday video of maybe 5 to 10 minutes somewhere in there, that's pretty much all I'm able to do as far as video stuff goes for the YouTube channel. But I do have a lot of updates I need to work on for the website. Update the Headrush course, make sure I have all the current amps and effects updated on there. And tonal analysis course, which I'm going to be starting very, very soon. I'm going to be taking bands and or songs and recreating those sounds on the Headrush. So Jordan, that might be a good option for you, especially since you're in a cover band. You know, let me know what bands or songs that y'all cover in your set list, and I can definitely help recreate those sounds on the Headrush, and you can take advantage of my hard work and you know, just download those for the price of entry there on the website. So yeah, so taking the F12Xs and putting them in a wood cab makes a world of difference. I actually have a 2x12 cab that has no speakers in it right now through some through some unfortunate events. So if I wanted to insert some new speakers in there, I definitely could. And Elizabeth says she would share recipes anytime. So yeah, I think for next time I'm going to make sure I get a recipe called up, especially on the browser here, and I can share that in the link in the description below, either before or after the stream. Because it's fun having a theme, talk about gear, eating tacos on Tuesday night, and maybe going over some fun recipes you can try out with either you as an individual or your family, wife and kids, husband and kids, whatever, and all of that. So I think we are pretty much done. Thanks everybody once again for hanging out. Hopefully the sound was okay, and I had a lot of fun doing that. So Jordan, send me a message when you can. Let me know what songs you play in your band, and I will get my brain working on how to dial those in on the Headrush. Okay? Thanks everyone for watching, and I will see you in the next video.